Growing up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, there were so many questions to answer. Why is this happening? Who's doing this? Who's involved? Why am I in the middle of all of this? And as a teenager, I was deprived of that life, a normal life that anyone else in the UK or in the USA would have been having. It's very hard to explain to people how there were no cinemas, that dance halls were bombed, that you just didn't go out, there were no street lights at night, buses stopped at 8 p.m. at night, there were no buses to go anywhere after that at night, and it's very, very hard. We're not talking about, the 1930s or 40s, we're talking about the 1970s and the 1980s in Northern Ireland. And I ended up watching an awful lot of TV, and therefore watching the people who were explaining this conflict to me as I sat in my home. And I knew from the age of 10 or 11 that I wanted to be a journalist. I just didn't want to be a print journalist. I wanted to be a television journalist. I knew that from an early age, and thankfully that's what I became. In October 1980, I was offered an audition with Ulster Television. Trouble is, it was for a farming programme. So I phoned my journalism lecturer and I said, Mrs. Fitzpatrick, I don't know anything about farming. Why would I audition for a farming programme? And she said, rule one of journalism, Eamonn, find out. And so I've always found it to be. No matter what the subject is, no matter the subject is politics, whether it is sport, whether it is entertainment, whether you know nothing about soap operas, find out, research, find out, and the same rule applies in any interview or any subject that you're doing. Those were wise words. I went and I found out about farming, and amazingly I got the job. My first job was as an agricultural reporter. I just loved doing what I did so much that I never thought about the early mornings, just to get the opportunity to anchor a breaking news programme, to give people the opportunity to see something and learn something that they didn't know when they went to bed the night before, is the most amazing privilege. However, having done it, having been the longest serving breakfast anchor in the world, and we're talking about 26 years there, it has an effect on you. I mean, for instance, I am 38 years old, and look what it's done to me. It's no good. Early starts get you in the end. I think you've always got to change. You've always got to remain relevant. If you have a passion for what you do and an enthusiasm, I think that probably comes across to people. I always push the boundaries. I think people know when they get me, they get a sense of mischievousness. And I don't care if I'm interviewing the Prime Minister or I'm interviewing a pop star. It is amazing the pretentiousness some people can surround themselves with. And I'm very happy to give people respect, very, very happy, but you can spot a prat a mile off, and that's when I have the most fun. That's when I have the most fun, a la, David Cassidy or, somebody like Meg Ryan, or most politicians, I have to put into that, who just will not answer the bloomin' question. And why can't they say? I don't care who trains them. They think they're so smart. I think what the public really want to know, and I go, yeah, well, that's the public, but here's what I really want to know. Just humour me on this one. Just for me. Just answer this one for me. But I think the real issue is, but that might be the real issue. I give you that. That's probably the real issue. But here's the issue I want to know. I mean, the pomposity of politicians, the system where they just dodge the question, and the public are wise to it. And therefore, we see a whole realignment of politics and people voting for what they believe, rightly or wrongly, are real candidates now. People who say it as it is. And I think mainstream politicians have only got themselves to blame for that. There's people now who I don't think I would want to interview. Russell Crowe's got a bad reputation. I wouldn't want, he seems, if he wants to play ball, he'll play ball. But why go through the hassle? Why bother? There's a few English actors that you think, no. I didn't know Meg Ryan had a bad reputation, and I interviewed her many years before Michael Parkinson did, and had a terrible interview with her, absolutely terrible, in a hotel room in Paris, which she just wouldn't answer the questions. I mean, she's just phobic about interviews. But no one believes you because she has an image of when Harry met Sally and all that sort of thing. And people believe the image. And that's the trouble with a lot of people. If you can create as an actor, an actress, an image on screen that people love, and there's certain people just spring to mind immediately for me on this, the public think that's what you're like. They're so not. They're so not. And often people who have a bad image on screen are the most lovely, adorable sort of people. But, you know, often it's not them, it's the people around them. Rihanna, a case in point. Where could I begin there? But the people around her. But a guy around her once thumped me on the arm and said, "Hey, you want to talk to Miss Rihanna? You do it through me." I said, "I'm really sorry, terribly sorry, I didn't realise. Are you being interviewed with Rihanna?" He said, No, I'm not being interviewed with Rihanna." I said, "Exactly. And if you touch my beep, beep, beep arm again, I will break yours and stick it up your beep." And I said that in front of her. That was fine, because I didn't give a rat's ass whether I interviewed her or not. Mariah Carey, oh my God, that woman is poison. Whoever the latest man is who's escaped her clutches is a very, very lucky guy. Awful. Once I went to do an interview with her and she said she'd be doing the interview lying down. And I said, "Brilliant, I'll do it lying down with you." Her people went ballistic. They couldn't believe this. Said, "Miss Rihanna's very tired. Miss Carey's very tired." I said, "She's very tired. I've been up from 4 o'clock this morning." I said, "So don't talk to me about tired. It's now 4 o'clock in the afternoon." So I said, bottom line is either she lies down, I lie down, she sits up, and I sit up. I said, that's the way it's going to be. And they said, "Well, there's no interview." I said, "Fine." So I walked out on that. Too often TV companies give in. They did. The GMTV then sent around another reporter to do the interview, which the other reporter did. But, you know, just the pomposity with a lot of them. You really don't want to interview. Actors are often a pain in the backside. And they're usually all called Jessica and from America, and you're never really sure who they are. Jessica who? What's she done? But she thinks she's done a lot, whoever she is. So you get that. Those junkets in hotel rooms, they're awful. They're absolutely awful. Does the actor no favours? Does the film no favour? Does you no favours doing them? So there's quite a list of people who you really don't want to see in front of you and who you would just say, "Nah, life's too short." It's always nice to meet people who are contagious, who are infectious, who have incredible positivity, who want to change the world, who do change the world. And often that is the most ordinary people. That they can be people who are medical, people who are teachers, people who just through their endeavours, maybe in sport, make the world feel a better place. And then there are very charismatic people who, whether good, bad or indifferent, definitely affect people around them. And I find Bill Clinton to be one of those people. I find him, whatever you may think of him, I can see why people would want to follow him or people would be influenced by him. And very, very charismatic. And I did the first interview in the UK, the first live interview with Monica Lewinsky after the scandal. And she sat down, it was a live interview, and I said something about the president. And she said, "Why, you know the president?" And I said, "No, not as well as you do, obviously." I said, "I met him, but I only shook his hand." And she did laugh. She did laugh. In fairness to her, she did laugh. Two-headed presenting is very difficult. I don't care what anyone says. And, you know, when they all say, "Oh, we get on perfectly," they're telling fibs. They're telling fibs. I don't care who they are. Even Ant and Dec must have to have fallouts. It is just akin to two people driving a car. It can't work. It's impossible. And it's, you know, at least I do interactive presenting. I mean, the most awful type of two-handed presenting is where one presenter looks at another one while they speak and then they jump in like that because they can't wait to read the next piece of autocue. And it's about knowing when you've spoken too long and letting the other person speak. which then gives you a problem if you're with my wife, because she doesn't listen to anything either in real life or professionally as well. And that's the difference between Ruth and I suppose other couples, is that it's the real life thing carries on screen, where it's not supposed to be real life. And my wife doesn't listen to me in real life, so why would she listen to me on the screen? You know, she just doesn't. She's like her mother. She just doesn't listen, full stop. So she just is in her world. And then, of course, if I ever interrupt, the only thing the viewers notice is that a bloke has interrupted, and therefore the bloke has to be in the wrong. But it is a tremendous privilege, that said, to work with the person you love. That is a tremendous privilege to be able to do that. And my wife, Ruth, is a naturally funny person. Sometimes she doesn't mean to be, but she is naturally funny, and we do bounce off each other quite well. But it is lovely when you have a co-presenter, whoever it is, that you trust, that you know, this is so not my subject. I don't understand what they're talking about here. It's like cooking. Most cooking things I glaze over. I don't care. Just give me it, finish. Let me eat it. I just want to eat it. I don't really care how you cook it, how long it takes. Just give me it. Fine. Lovely. Thank you. Whereas Ruth wants to go, and do you get the juice from that, from this? I don't really care. It smells lovely. Let's eat it. But so it's nice to have her, so the public can actually think that I am remotely interested in this item that is happening. The lovely thing is, people do feel that they know you, and people feel that they can come up to me, which I realise is a tremendous tribute, because I also realise that there are lots and lots of people that the general public feel they can't approach, and I could name them. You can see it when people come into studio. You can see the people who folk think, I can get a picture taken, I can ask for an autograph, they're one of us, I can deal with them. And you can see the other people who send out this vibe, do not come near me. And therefore it's a great compliment when people think that they can approach you. So therefore you know you're doing your job well. And why would you want to be booked for a corporate event if you're not going to mix with people, if you're not going to press the flesh, if you're not going to genuinely want to share in their joy of the evening? Because the truth is, it's not my evening, it's their evening. I'm not the star, they are the stars on that particular night. An interest in what they do. I think what I would bring to an event is an interest in what the company does, an interest in what the people who work for the company do, an interest in wanting to meet them, talk to them, chat to them, and actually praise them for what they do. Most people go through life and their yearly business without anyone ever saying to them, well done, that was fantastic, you're different, you're special, really appreciate that. And my job that night is, hopefully people recognize me, hopefully people want to see you there, and hopefully then it means something more to them when I come up and I give them a hug, and when I pose for a picture with them and I say, well done, well done. I don't care if they're the best kept toilets in the business or the best kept accounts files in the business or whatever it is. You are the star tonight, and we're here to tell you that. My job is just to make people feel special.